She discovered the open safe left by her boss. His heartfelt reaction changed everything forever. Emily had always believed in the power of hard work and community. As a 32-year-old single mother, she rose before the sun to serve breakfast at Ma's diner, her second job as a receptionist barely squeezing into the cracks of her day. The town buzzed around her, people engaging in polite conversations that masked their struggles, the type of veils that made an anxious heart heavy with worry. Bills piled up like autumn leaves at her doorstep, and with 2 kids to feed, Jacob and little Lucy, it felt like the world was a weight pressing down on her chest. One ordinary Thursday, while tidying up the cluttered office in Tom's struggling furniture store, she stumbled upon it, an open safe, its door ajar like a guilty secret yearning to breathe. Inside lay stacks of cash, crisp notes that felt warm against her fingers. Next to them rested a heartfelt letter from Tom, detailing the tragic fall of his family, a recent loss that laid siege to his shop. Emily's breath caught in her throat. The tears threatened to spill as Tom's words resonated with the echoes of her grandfather's sacrifices. How could she take the money? But what if it could change everything for her children? Her heart raced between right and wrong, each tick of the clock drumming her anxiety. Memories of nights spent pinching pennies forced their way to the surface, moments that whispered her grandfather's mantra about honor and hard work. The room felt stifling, as if the walls themselves were pressing in on her, pushing her to decide. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With a surge of determination, Emily closed the safe, straightened her back, and walked to Tom. Heart racing, she shared the weight of her discovery. The room was thick with tension, yet a flicker of hope ignited in Tom's eyes as he faced her hardship and shared his own. Their vulnerabilities peeled away the layers of community struggles. Inspired by Emily's honesty, Tom gathered the nerve to confront his own shame, calling on the townspeople to unite, to raise him as he had once raised furniture. But goodness often breeds suspicion. As whispers morphed into rumors about Emily's past, the community turned its gaze. It felt like a storm was brewing, and Emily's heart sank. At the town hall meeting, she knew she had to speak up. Standing before the crowd, her voice trembled with raw emotion as she exposed the quiet pain of economic inequality, daring them to look in the mirror. The air felt electric. She pulled them in close, forcing them to confront their biases and assumptions. As she finished, a deafening silence hung over the room. Would they champion her plea for unity, or would the threads of her past unravel any hope for a better tomorrow? The tension crackled in the air, leaving Emily standing at the crossroads of courage and doubt, fighting for herself, her children, and a community on the edge of recognition. What fate awaited them all? The echo of Emily's words lingered in the air, thick with both trepidation and a glimmer of resolve. Eyes watched her with a mixture of compassion and skepticism. She could feel their thoughts pricking at her skin, like tiny, restless pins. Would they really listen? The silence stretched into an eternity, but finally, a woman in the front row, Marissa, Emily's former high school friend, stood up. "I remember us, Emily," she said, her voice steady. "We struggled together back then. If anyone understands how hard it can be, it's you." A chorus of nods followed, igniting a spark of hope within Emily. There were still those who remembered, who knew the weight of daily reality. "We all have stories," Marissa continued. "Tom's loss, your kid's hell, we all have burdens." Tom, standing by her side, visibly softened. "That's right," he added. "This community can't thrive on gossip and fear. We need to lift each other up." Little by little, the room filled with murmurs of agreement. Conversations broke out, mixed with some laughter laced with nostalgia. A gentleman named Mr. Jenkins, known for his gruff demeanor, suddenly chimed in. You're damn right. We need to stop this blame game. Let us figure this out as a town. Emily took a breath, realizing that she'd started a shift. Maybe they weren't entirely lost, after all. The conversation peeled back layers of hurt and uncertainty, like an onion being sliced raw, exposing the truths lurking beneath the surface. Yet, as the energy in the room surged, threads of the past still hung heavily around her neck. Whispers of her history floated through the crowd, years spent in rocky relationships, decisions that didn't always lead her down the right path. Would those memories come back to bite her when she least expected it? My mom always said, Jacob's voice broke through, it's not where you start, it's where you finish. The room fell quiet again, but this time with reflection instead of judgment. Eyes softened, glances became kinder. It was a small step, but a meaningful one. The meeting wrapped up on a hopeful note, leaving Emily with momentum. As the crowd dispersed, she felt a weight begin to lift. But her relief was short-lived. In the days that followed, the town's mood swung like a pendulum. Some rallied behind her message, offering help and support, while others clung tightly to their skepticism. Emily's heart ached as her resolve was tested. She returned home one evening to find an anonymous letter slipped under her door. It felt ominous as she picked it up. With shaky hands and a rush of adrenaline, she read the words scrawled inside. Stay out of our business, Emily. You have no idea what you're stirring up. Chills ran down her spine. She sensed danger simmering beneath the surface, an undercurrent of hostility that could easily grow darker. As she sank into the couch, she realized she was at a pivotal moment. To fake ignorance or confront the storm brewing on the horizon? Night fell heavy as she pondered her options. The battle ahead required more than just courage. Emily knew she had to seek out alliances. If she wanted to forge a better path for her children and the community, she'd need to be ready for what lay ahead. Determined, she set out to meet with Tom and the newfound allies from the meeting. They needed a plan. The stakes were high, and time was running out. What would she discover as they dug deeper into the heart of their town's secrets? Emily's footsteps echoed in the dim light of the community center, a mix of determination and unease swirling in her chest. She pushed open the door to the small conference room, where Tom and their allies were already seated, their expressions a blend of concern and resolve. The air was charged, thick with the promise of action, while shadows of doubt danced just at the edges. Thanks for coming on such short notice, Emily said, forcing a smile. She knew they were all feeling the pressure, just as she was. Tom leaned forward, a crease of worry in his brow. The letter, it's serious, Emily. Whoever wrote it is ready to protect their secrets. I know, Emily replied, the reality sinking in like a heavy stone. But we can't back down now. If we do, nothing will change. Not for us, and certainly not for the kids. Jacob, another ally seated across from her, nodded. So what's the plan? We can't just knock on doors and ask people their secrets. Emily chewed her lip, deep in thought. We start small. Reach out to those who showed support during the meeting. They care. If we gather enough voices, we can confront the fears of those who are afraid to speak. So a petition? Marissa suggested, her tone thoughtful. We could get people signed up to join us. A community effort. Exactly. Emily felt a surge of hope. We need to show everyone we're not alone. That together, we can face whatever is lurking here. Tom's eyes sparkled with a mix of admiration and excitement. Let us do it. We can set up a table at the park this weekend. Really pull in the community. As they discussed the logistics, Emily felt the gears turning inside her mind. Plans began to form, not just for the petition but for a way to strengthen connections among townsfolk. Light-hearted moments needed to punctuate the serious, allowing people to remember the joy they once felt as neighbors. Just then, Marissa tapped her fingers on the worn wooden table. What about the town hall meeting? We could present our plan there, get more backing. Emily paused. That's risky. There are folks who are invested in keeping things the same. They might not take kindly to us shaking things up. But this is part of the change, Jacob interjected. Facing the fear head-on. It's not just about you anymore, Emily. You're leading something bigger. The weight of his words hit her hard. She wasn't just asking for change, she was becoming the change. With renewed energy, they devised a plan, every detail solidifying her conviction. However, the nagging thought of that ominous letter clung to her mind. As they concluded their meeting, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that shadows lurked just beyond the light they were creating. Later that night, as she reviewed their ideas, a familiar face appeared in her thoughts. Jason, her former boss, had always believed in her potential, seeing something in her that was often hidden even from herself. When he slipped her the keys to his safe, urging her to pursue her dreams, she hadn't fully grasped what that meant until now. The more she thought about it, the more she realized Jason had left her not just with keys, but with an opportunity. Could there be a connection between his departure and what was happening now? At that moment, Emily stood up, the weight on her chest shifting. She felt compelled to investigate further, perhaps that safe held answers to questions she didn't yet know how to ask. What had Jason really left behind? And would it change the course of her fight for the town? With a resolve stronger than ever, she made her decision. Tomorrow, she would confront the past head-on, unlocking the door to both the safe and the truth. Morning light streamed into Emily's kitchen, illuminating the coffee pot as it gurgled to life. She paced back and forth, her fingers tapping nervously against the countertop. With each passing second, her mind raced back to the keys Jason had given her. What was inside that safe? She took a deep breath and poured herself a cup. It was time to go. The anticipation buzzing in her veins was palpable. As she drove towards Jason's old office, memories flooded her mind, his encouraging smile, the way he always seemed to know when she needed a little push. He had been more than just a boss. He had believed in her, sometimes more than she believed in herself. And now, somehow, his past dealings felt intricately woven into the tension building in her town. The office building stood silent and still, a relic of what it used to be. She parked and stepped out, her boots crunching on the gravel. Emily glanced around, half expecting to see Jason walking out for a break, his ever-optimistic energy filling the space. But he was gone, and the emptiness hit her like a gust of cold wind. With her heart racing, she slipped inside. The walls were lined with flickering fluorescent lights casting a ghostly glow. Her gaze shifted to his old office door, slightly ajar. She pushed it open, feeling a surge of nostalgia wash over her. The room was just as she remembered, with a well-worn desk and stacks of files scattered haphazardly. There, in the back, sat the sturdy metal safe. It felt like a vault into the unknown. She stepped closer, her hand trembling as she inserted the key Jason had given her. With a low click, the safe opened, and her breath caught in her throat. Inside, there were files, ledgers, and various papers. But on top of everything lay a small, battered journal. Curious, she picked it up, brushing her fingers over the cover. It felt warm, as if it carried the weight of Jason's thoughts within its pages. The first entry was dated several months before he left. Emily's heart raced as she read the handwriting, messy but filled with urgency. He spoke about community, about dreams for the town, and the pressures he faced, pressures to keep everything in line and quiet. As she flipped through more pages, an ache settled in her chest. His words were laced with a fight she'd never known about. He had been struggling with decisions that echoed her own. The shadows of guilt and doubt lay bare on those pages. He feared for the town, for the children, and it seemed he had witnessed things that pushed him to the brink. Tears stung her eyes as she clutched the journal tighter. It didn't just hold his thoughts, it held the courage to speak out, to challenge the status quo, to act. The very thing she had been trying to muster within herself. Suddenly, a thought crossed her mind. What if Jason's struggles tied directly to the letters and secrets now haunting her community? As powerful determination surged through her, she realized this wasn't just about her path anymore. It was about Jason, about the town, and about all the lives that could be improved if they pulled together. Leaving the office, the journal pressed against her heart, Emily felt lit with a newfound clarity. She wasn't just fighting for change, she was part of a legacy born from courage, a bond that would change her town forever. But as she stepped outside, the weight of her mission only deepened. What else had Jason written that would shake the roots of their community? What fears would she have to face to seek the truth he had begun to unravel? The answers loomed ahead, dark and untamed, a reflection of the battle that lay before her. Would she stand firm, even when faced with the unknown? With every beat of her heart, she knew it was time to rally her allies once more, armed with more than just hope. The real work was just beginning. Emily's hands trembled as she stepped outside, the journal heavy in her grasp. The sun hung low in the sky, throwing long shadows that danced across the gravel. She took a moment to steady herself, breathing deeply, the scent of pine and earth filling her lungs. She felt it a calling, a sense of duty more profound than she had ever experienced. Jason's words echoed in her mind, urging her to act. That evening, she gathered her closest friends over at her small living room. Each face that surrounded her held a piece of her heart. They were the distractions, the supportive whispers that had kept her afloat in troubled times. As they settled on the worn sofa and mismatched chairs, she felt a rush of warmth. These were the people she was fighting for. "Guys," she started, her voice faltering. "I found something important today." Their expressions shifted from curiosity to concern as they exchanged glances. "What is it, Em?" Rachel leaned forward, her brow furrowing. "You look like you've seen a ghost." "It's about Jason," Emily said, clutching the journal to her chest. "He left behind a safe and in it, their essay journal filled with his thoughts. He was scared for our town." A hush fell over the group as she opened the journal. With each word she read aloud, she could feel their energy shifting from amusement to sincerity. "Listen to this," she read, her voice steadying. "He wrote about the pressure to keep everything quiet, the secrets that threatened to tear us apart." Jack, a childhood friend, scratched his chin. "Secrets? What kind of secrets?" "He knew about the corruption in the town council," Emily continued, her heart pounding with each revelation from Jason's past. "He wanted to expose it, but he was afraid." "Afraid of what?" Rachel pressed, her eyes wide. What could be so terrifying that someone like Jason would back down? Emily felt the weight of their gazes, the understanding growing between them. "He mentioned things getting dark, people he cared about in danger. I think he was onto something huge. And I can't keep this to myself." "Then why are we still sitting here?" Jack leaned back, his voice heated, brimming with determination. "If Jason was right, we need to act. We can't just let fear hold us down." Emily nodded, embracing his fervor. It was time for them to move beyond her doubts. She could feel the collective energy rising as they discussed the steps they would need to take. As the night deepened, they formed a plan. Each friend would tap into their strengths, gathering support, rallying the townsfolk, and digging deeper into the issues Jason had outlined. Emily felt a surge of hope. Together, they were not just a group of friends, they were a force ready to reclaim their community. But before they could fully ignite their newfound purpose, there was a loud knock at the door. The sound shattered the excitement like glass, causing their heads to snap toward the entrance. Emily exchanged a worried glance with Rachel. Who could that be at this hour? Cautiously, she approached the door, her heart racing again. What if this person was connected to Jason's fears? What if they were already aware of the stirrings of rebellion? As she opened the door, the sight before her sent a chill down her spine. A figure stood silhouetted in the dim porch light, their face obscured. "What do you think you're doing, Emily?" The voice growled, low and menacing. "You don't know what you're getting into with those words." Uncertainty washed over her. Was her battle about to take a dangerous turn? Whatever the answer, she knew she could no longer turn back. She had already stepped into the light, and now she would have to confront the darkness waiting just outside her door. A jolt of fear coursed through Emily as she took a step back, the door barely ajar before her. She could hardly see the figure, cloaked in shadows, but she could feel the weight of its intent. The air thickened with tension, as if the universe held its breath, waiting for her reply. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice steadier than she felt. The figure shifted, stepping into the light. Emily squinted, heart racing, recognition dawning. It was Mr. Henderson, the town councilman. His face was taut, but there was something else, an urgency beneath the anger. "Emily, this is not about you," he said, his voice dropping. "This is bigger than you can understand. Trust me, you need to walk away. Now. Walk away." She repeated incredulously, her resolve hardening. What Jason found, what he was trying to do, it matters. He was going to expose the truth. Mr. Henderson's expression darkened, and his eyes flickered towards the living room, where her friends were gathered, restless. "You don't know what's at stake. This town survived on secrets. Don't unravel it. You'll put yourself in danger." Danger. The word echoed in Emily's mind, tugging at the fear lurking in her heart. But she remembered Jason's fear, the passion with which he had fought for the truth. She couldn't walk away. Not now. Jason believed this was worth fighting for, Emily shot back, her voice firm. "So do I. And if you're afraid of the truth coming out, then maybe that's the real reason I should keep going." Mr. Henderson hesitated, the flicker of something almost like regret crossed his face. But then he shook it off, stepping closer. "You think you're brave, young lady? You're playing with fire, and it gets people hurt." As she met his gaze, determination surged within her. She glanced back at her friends, who were now peering with concern through the doorframe. They had shared a glance, a silent communication of solidarity. They were in this together. "I won't let fear dictate my life anymore," she said, a fierceness taking hold. "If you intend to scare me into silence, you're mistaken." For a moment, the two locked eyes, the weight of unspoken words and history simmering between them. Emily could see the flicker of something in Mr. Henderson's eyes, worry. Perhaps even pity. But it was gone in an instant, replaced by a hard, cold resolve. "You're making a mistake," he warned, brushing past her into the living room. "You don't know who you're messing with." "Get out," Emily said, her voice barely above a whisper, yet it felt like a declaration. Mr. Henderson paused, looking around at the group of friends, then back to Emily. "If you proceed, you won't just be risking your safety. You'll put them in danger too." The chilling realization hung in the air. She could feel her friends' anxious stares and the weight of the choice laid heavily on her shoulders. But what if standing up for the truth is the only way to protect them? Emily whispered, the thought taking root. For a brief moment, there was silence. Then she took a step forward, her heart pounding. "You may think you can intimidate us, but we will find a way." With a curt nod, Mr. Henderson turned and left, the door slamming shut behind him. Emily felt adrenaline coursing through her, mingled with doubt. She looked around at her friends, who were wide-eyed and shaking. "What just happened?" Jack finally asked, breaking the tension. "Something I didn't expect," Emily replied, glancing at the closed door. "But we know what to do next. We need that information from the journal more than ever." In that moment, determination flickered once more in her chest. They were stronger together. As they gathered closer, the conversation turned. But deep inside, uncertainty wrestled with hope. What new threats lay ahead? What if there was far more at stake than they realized? With resolve settling like a warm blanket over her shoulders, Emily whispered to herself, "Whatever it takes." And just then, a shadow passed by the window, lingering just beyond their sight, and her stomach twisted with unease. What was coming next? The truth was looming, but at what price? Emily's heart raced as she turned to face her friends. Jack's worried eyes held an unspoken question, while Alicia nervously tapped her fingers against the couch. A heavy silence settled in the room, each beating second filled with the weight of their choices. "We can't just sit here," Jack finally spoke, breaking the stillness. "If we want to help Jason, we need to find that journal of his. It might have everything we need. And we have to do it soon." His voice bore a note of finality that hung in the air. "Agreed," Emily said, her voice steady despite the storm raging in her mind. "But we need a plan. Mr. Henderson just threw down a huge gauntlet. He clearly doesn't want us digging into this. We need to be smart about this." Alicia stepped forward, her hands shaking slightly. "What if we search his house? I mean, it makes sense, right? He might not even realize we have access, and if he doesn't think we'll go that far." Her voice trailed off, eyes wide with a mix of fear and excitement. "Just break into his house?" Jack raised an eyebrow, skepticism etched across his face. "It's not breaking in if we have a reason, right?" She countered. "We owe it to Jason to find the truth. We're already in deep. What's a little more danger?" Emily weighed their options. The tension of Mr. Henderson's warning resonated in her mind, but the memory of Jason's determination fueled her resolve. "It's risky, but we don't have time to waste. That journal might hold evidence we can use to expose whatever conspiracy he's involved in. But what if he catches us? What if he's got eyes everywhere?" Jack's concern was valid, and Emily could see the fear swirling in his gaze. "We get in and out. Quick and quiet," Emily insisted, a new fire igniting within her. She could feel her friends' doubts and hesitations, but she also sensed their wanting to take that leap with her. They were in this together, and together they could tackle whatever came their way. "Okay, let's say we do this," Jack finally said, a reluctant agreement. "How do we even figure out when the right time is? And where would Jason keep that journal? We can watch his place, see if he leaves it lying around or if he's got any special places he hides things," Emily suggested. "We just need to stay sharp." As they plotted and strategized, a sense of camaraderie filled the room. Each of them was terrified, yet motivated by the same goal. The shadows of uncertainty glided over them, but their determination pulsed like a heartbeat, strong and relentless. Then, Emily's phone buzzed, jolting her focus. She grabbed it, glancing at the screen. A message from Jason's sister: "I have something important. Meet me at our old spot." "Who is it?" Jack asked, eyes narrowing. "It's Jason's sister. She says she has something important," Emily replied, her heart racing again. There was a sense of urgency in those words. "Shouldn't we go?" Alicia asked, biting her lip. "Yeah, let us go. We need to hear what she knows," Jack said, determination creeping back into his voice. They made their way towards the door, but just as Emily reached for the knob, a sharp knock echoed from the other side. Her body tensed, a sense of foreboding hanging thick in the air. "Who is it?" she called, her voice a low whisper. Silence followed, and then a familiar voice called from the other side. "Emily, it's me, it's Jason." Her heart leapt, confusion washing over her. How could he be here? She glanced at her friends, uncertainty flickering in their eyes, and as she opened the door just a crack, a rush of hope clashed with fear. What was he doing here? And what had he uncovered? The truth was closer than she imagined, but at what cost? Emily's hand trembled as she opened the door, revealing Jason's worn face and the tired lines around his eyes. He looked vulnerable yet determined, a flicker of hope igniting in his gaze. "Emily," he breathed, stepping inside as if he were afraid someone might see him. "I don't have much time." The urgency in his voice prompted her to close the door quickly behind him. Jack and Alicia shifted uneasily, unsure how to react. "What are you doing here?" Emily managed to say, her voice barely above a whisper. She was elated and terrified. Just minutes ago, they were strategizing about going to his house, and now he was standing in front of them like a ghost from the past. I overheard things about Mr. Henderson, Jason said, looking around as if the walls had ears. I need you guys to trust me. He's not who you think he is. There's something rotten happening. Jack stepped forward, eyes narrowing. What do you mean? What did you hear? Not here, Jason said, glancing out the window nervously. Let us go somewhere safe. Emily exchanged worried looks with her friends. In that moment, she realized how deep they were in. They weren't just chasing rumors anymore, they were tangled in something dangerous. Okay, she said, her voice steady even though her heart hammered in her chest. Where do we go? Let us head to the old barn, down by the creek, Jason suggested. It's secluded. We can talk there without worrying about being overheard. Alicia nodded, her fear giving way to determination. Let us get moving then. They slipped out the door, moving swiftly and silently through the neighborhood as shadows lengthened in the fading light. Each step felt heavy with tension, but there was added resolve in Jason's presence. He was back, and he had information they needed. When they reached the barn, the air was thick with anticipation. Inside, dust motes danced in the beams of fading sunlight, and the weight of secrets seemed to hang in the air. They settled on old crates, surrounded by the scent of hay and forgotten memories. Okay, Jason. What did you find out? Emily urged, leaning forward, the weight of their mission pressing on her shoulders. Jason took a breath, his hands fidgeting. I found a safe in Mr. Henderson's office. I think it has the proof we need to show he's involved in something big. Something that could hurt Jason and all of us. Wait, Jack interrupted, confused. What kind of proof? What are you saying? Writings, files. He's been keeping records of things. I don't know exactly what, but I saw the lock a combination type. If we can get it open, I think it'll expose everything. Emily felt the adrenaline surge through her, but doubt crept in at the edges. But why did you come here first? Why not go to the cops? I can't trust them. I don't know who's working for Henderson, Jason admitted, his eyes darting around the dim barn. I barely got away from him just now. I needed to warn you first. Alicia's voice trembled as she asked the question they all had on their minds. So, what's the plan? Jason locked eyes with Emily, determination sparking between them. We go tonight instead of waiting for him to find us, we'll take the fight to him. The weight of the decision settled heavily on Emily's heart. They were risking everything. But alongside the fear was a resolute hope that flickered like an ember. What if exposing the truth could save Jason? Just as they were strategizing, a distant sound echoed, tires crunching on gravel. Their hearts raced, the sudden noise morphing the air into a tense coil of panic. Get down! Jason hissed, ducking behind a stack of hay bales, pulling them all down with him. Breath held tight, all four of them listened intently as the sound drew closer. Who was it? Was it Mr. Henderson? As the door creaked open, Emily's heart sank into her stomach. They weren't as safe as they thought. What would happen next? Did they really have the guts to confront whatever was coming? The door swung open slowly, each creak echoing like a heartbeat in the tense silence. A figure loomed in the doorway, silhouetted by the dim light outside. Emily's breath hitched as she strained to see, her mind racing. Was it one of Henderson's men? Who's there? A voice called out. It was gruff, low, and filled with authority. Jason pressed his finger to his lips, urging everyone to be silent. Their hearts drummed a chaotic rhythm as the figure stepped inside the barn, the light revealing not an enemy, but a familiar face. It was Mr. Anderson, the local handyman, known for his easy smile and generous heart. Mr. Anderson? Emily whispered, peeking over the bale. Relief washed over her, but it was quickly replaced by confusion. Why was he here? Emily? What are you kids doing here? He asked, concern etching his features as he surveyed the out-of-place gathering. We were just, Emily stammered, but Jason interrupted. We're in trouble, Mr. Anderson. Can we trust you? The handyman's expression shifted, understanding dawning on him. You're in trouble with Henderson, aren't you? I've heard things I didn't want to believe them, but they were no longer hiding in the shadows of the barn but standing on the precipice of a daunting reality. The stakes were higher than Emily ever imagined. Jason locked eyes with her again, determination mixed with fear. Mr. Anderson, we need your help. We think Henderson has files that could expose him, Jason admitted, his voice low but steady. Mr. Anderson's eyes widened. If that's true, we must act quickly. Henderson has eyes everywhere. I've seen the way he operates. Their collective resolve solidified in the face of danger. We're going tonight, Alicia declared. We need to find that safe. All right, Mr. Anderson agreed, glancing toward the door. Gather your things. It won't be safe for much longer. As they prepared to leave the barn, Emily's heart raced. They were jumping into the unknown, but she couldn't shake the feeling that this was their moment. Mr. Anderson slid the door open, ushering them out into the cool night. The air was thick with unspoken fears and possibilities. Stay close, he instructed, leading them through the brush towards the main road. We'll need to stick to the shadows. Henderson won't give up easily. As they reached the edge of the property, Emily felt a mix of excitement and dread. The gravity of their mission pressed down on her. If they failed, everything could crumble. Suddenly, a faint noise broke the stillness. A car approached, headlights piercing the darkness like knives. They instinctively ducked behind a cluster of trees, hearts pounding as they waited. What if it's them? Jack whispered, fear creeping into his voice. Mr. Anderson shook his head. Let us see. We need to be smart about this. The vehicle rolled to a stop, and they all held their breath. Emily strained to catch a glimpse as the driver stepped out. It was a figure she recognized, someone who seemed distant yet familiar. Mr. Henderson himself. He stood, scanning the area, every muscle in his body tense as if sensing danger. Get back, Jason mouthed urgently, pulling Emily deeper into the shadows. Emily's heart raced furiously as she watched Henderson. Why was he here? The uncertainty made her stomach twist. His eyes swept over the trees, and for a fleeting moment, she felt the sharp edge of fear piercing her heart. What if he found them right now? Just as they began to back away, a voice cut through the night. I know you're here. Henderson called, his tone icy. Fear seized Emily's chest like a vice. They had to move fast. Let us go, Jason urged, his voice barely above a whisper. With hurried steps, they retreated further into the darkness, but the shadow of Henderson loomed larger than ever. Could they really face him? Could they expose the truth? As they melted away into the night, Emily's mind raced with what lay ahead. They had made the choice to confront their fears, but was courage enough? In the distance, they heard the sharp sound of metal against metal, a lock being opened. What was the significance of that sound? The possibility of revelation, of truth, pressed heavily on Emily's mind. Would they find the evidence they needed, or was it all a dangerous gamble that could lead to their downfall? She felt the weight of the dawn approaching. Would it bring clarity or chaos? The night was far from over. Emily's heart thudded in her chest like a war drum as they slipped through the trees. The shadow of Henderson loomed in her mind, each crack of a twig beneath their feet resonating with the question, could they really do this? She could feel the gravity of the moment pressing down, a blend of fear and resolve washing over her. With every step they took, uncertainty twisted and turned, but hope flickered in the corners of her heart. They darted behind the old barn where Jason had found the evidence they desperately needed. Stay sharp, Mr. Anderson whispered as they huddled together, the urgency palpable in his voice. If Henderson's got eyes everywhere, we have to move quietly. Alicia nodded, her determination shining like a beacon in the darkness. Let us find that safe. The barn door creaked ominously as they slipped inside. Mayhem of dusty crates and forgotten memories surrounded them, the air thick with the scent of hay and mildew. Jason's relentless pursuit of truth propelled them deeper into the shadows. As they approached the back room, Emily's mind spun with questions. What exactly did Jason see in that safe? What truths lay buried beneath the layers of lies? She felt nauseous yet exhilarated at the possibility of illuminating the darkness enveloping their town. Wait! Jack hissed suddenly, causing everyone to freeze. Did you hear that? They paused, straining their ears, adrenaline coursing through their veins. A faint sound echoed from the front of the barn footsteps. The group huddled low, hearts racing. Was it Henderson? Or someone worse? All right, Jason whispered, urgency laced in his voice. We need to act now. With trembling hands, Emily led them toward the back office, her breath shallow but resolute. The safe was just beyond the door. They clustered around it, stealing glances at the entrance, listening for any sign of danger. Do you have the combination? Mr. Anderson whispered, his eyes darting around like they were in a horror film. Jason nodded, biting his lip as he remembered the numbers he had glimpsed. Maybe I can get it open, but before he could finish, a noise echoed from outside, the unmistakable sound of a car pulling up to the barn. Emily's heart raced. There was no time left. Now or never, she breathed, her voice quaking. In a swift motion, Jason stepped up to the safe, fingers trembling as he worked on the lock. The seconds dragged, each one stretching into eternity. The world outside felt like an echo chamber, the tension thick enough to slice through. Finally, with a resounding click, the safe creaked open. A rush of air escaped as they peered inside. Files, stacks of paper, and scattered evidence waited like buried treasure, just waiting for them to uncover their secrets. Got it! Jason exclaimed, pulling out the first file and flipping through pages filled with shocking details. Look at this. Documents, transactions, it's all here. He's been extorting people, he's involved in all of it. The revelations spiraled like fireworks, each new piece illuminating the darkness. And then it hit Emily, this was bigger than she imagined. Just as she opened her mouth to share their discoveries, the clashing of metal against metal echoed again, sharper this time. Henderson's voice rang out, booming against the walls of the barn. You think you can just take what doesn't belong to you? The menace in his tone was palpable, and Emily's chest tightened in fear. Run! Jason shouted, his eyes wild with urgency. They didn't hesitate, bolting toward the back of the barn, adrenaline propelling them forward as they could hear the heavy footsteps advancing. They spilled out into the cool night air and darted toward the tree line, but Henderson's shadow loomed behind them. Panic surged as the weight of the truth became a physical barrier, wrapping around them, threatening to pull them down. They ran, hearts pounding with the rhythm of desperation. With branches clutching at their clothes, they navigated through the dark woods, knowing they were all connected by a single mission, to confront Henderson and expose the truth, until... Suddenly, Emily stumbled over a roots jutting from the ground, hitting the forest floor hard. Panic flickered through her as her friends stopped in their tracks, turning around, worry etched across their faces. Emily! Jack called. I'm okay. She managed to gasp, forcing herself back up. But the urgency still clung to her. We have to keep moving. He's coming. They regrouped, hearts pounding, and took off again. Direction didn't matter, only the spirit of determination pushing them onward. Footsteps became mere background noise as fear morphed into pure adrenaline. Emerging back into the open, they made for the old community center, the steady beam of hope illuminating their path. There lay the essence of their shared strength, the spirit of a united community waiting to rise together against the tide of lies. As they neared the building, a dark thought gripped Emily: what would happen once they exposed Henderson? Were they prepared for the backlash? Did they really have the courage to bring the truth to light? We need to spread the word. She cried as they reached the center's entrance. This can't just be ours. Everyone deserves to know what's really happening. Jason nodded, determination flaring in his eyes. Let us gather the community. We have to make them understand that it's time to stand together. The group burst through the doors, the energy in the air transforming from fear to resolve. As they began shouting the details, their passion ignited a spark in the few who had gathered that night, energies coalescing around a common goal. Let us fight for Jason's legacy. Jack shouted, the words hanging like a banner above them, and just like that, Emily realized this was their moment. Not just to reveal the secrets but to grasp the unity that could rebuild their community. Henderson had served as their catalyst, but they had the power to change their future. We're not backing down. Emily affirmed, igniting hope within every soul present. They would rise together, a united front. The storm was coming, but they would face it, hearts bravely entwined, for in that moment, Emily knew that her fight wasn't about her anymore. It was about setting a course for change, for her children, and for every vulnerable person in the town. Together, they would tackle the challenge head-on, and together, they would face whatever lay ahead. Emily took a deep breath, ready for the next chapter. This was just the beginning. Now's the time for you to take action. You need to subscribe now to our channel to keep up with these exclusive stories. Leave a like as it fuels the algorithm and helps spread our message. We want to hear from you. Comment your thoughts and feelings about this transformation. And remember, share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this journey of courage. Don't wait not even one more second. Only true fans understand how crucial it is to support the channel through these actions.